Dominique Morisseau's Pipeline is a socially urgent drama that grapples with the intersecting forces of race, class, public education, and parental responsibility. At the heart of the play is Nya, a dedicated inner-city public school teacher, and her teenage son Omari, who attends an elite private school. When Omari is involved in a violent incident at school, Nya must confront not only her role as a parent and educator, but also the oppressive systems that entrap young black men. Drawing from both poetic language and realist dialogue, Morisseau constructs a personal and political narrative that humanizes the figures often flattened by policy debates. Pipeline is not just about individual characters, it's about how institutions affect lives, how trauma is inherited, and how the fear of failure haunts black families striving for survival and dignity. Setting and structure. Pipeline unfolds across several locations: a public high school classroom, a teacher's lounge, Nya's apartment, and the private boarding school Omari attends. The action takes place over a few days and is punctuated by projections of poetry, surveillance footage, and soundscapes, evoking a sense of surveillance and emotional isolation. Characters. Nya, a single mother and high school teacher in an inner-city public school. Passionate and anxious, she is committed to protecting her son from systemic harm. Omari, Nya's teenage son, attending a predominantly white elite private school. Intelligent but emotionally volatile, he is suspended for an altercation with a teacher. Xavier, Omari's estranged father, a successful businessman who has distanced himself from his past and family. Jasmine, Omari's girlfriend, outspoken and loyal, with her own emotional wounds. Lori, a white veteran teacher at Nya's school, abrasive but committed, frustrated with the system. Dunn, a black security guard at the school and Nya's friend, caught between compassion and survival. Act 1. The play opens with Nya frantically trying to contact her son, Omari. We learn that Omari has physically assaulted a teacher at his private school and may face expulsion or criminal charges. Nya is terrified that Omari is entering the pipeline from school to prison, a fate she has tried to protect him from by sending him to an elite school. At the public school where she teaches, Nya is also dealing with challenges. Students are out of control, resources are scarce, and teachers are demoralized. Lori, her white colleague, expresses frustration about a system that sets both students and teachers up for failure, while Dunn, the security guard, tries to maintain order with empathy. Through scenes and phone calls, we begin to understand that Nya is overwhelmed by guilt and fear. She wonders whether sending Omari to a predominantly white school isolated him further, rather than protecting him. We also learn that Omari has long felt abandoned by his father, Xavier. Act 2. Omari returns home after the incident and has a heated confrontation with Nya. He feels misunderstood, policed, and betrayed by a society that labels him dangerous before knowing him. He accuses Nya of trying to protect him while also trying to fix him, and resents being treated as a problem to be solved. In a pivotal scene, Omari recounts what happened. During a class discussion on Richard Wright's native son, a white teacher provoked him by pressing him to explain the actions of the novel's protagonist, Bigger Thomas. Omari saw the teacher's line of questioning as racially charged and dehumanizing. In a moment of frustration, he pushed the teacher. Later, Xavier appears, summoned by Nya to intervene. The confrontation between father and son is explosive. Omari demands to know why Xavier left and criticizes him for his respectability politics. Xavier defends himself, claiming he made sacrifices to give Omari opportunities. But Omari doesn't want to be a symbol of upward mobility. He wants to be seen and loved as himself. The play ends ambiguously, with Nya delivering a haunting monologue in which she speaks directly to her students, and, by extension, to her son, about her desire to save them, and her fear that she cannot. There is no resolution, only a call for understanding, empathy, and change. Analysis. 1. The school-to-prison pipeline. The title of the play refers to a real and devastating system that channels children, especially black and brown boys, from schools into prisons through disciplinary policies, zero-tolerance laws, surveillance, and racial bias. Morisseau dramatizes this process through Omari's story. Although he is intelligent and thoughtful, a moment of emotional vulnerability is interpreted as criminal behavior. His punishment is not just about the incident, it's about how society sees black boys as threats. The play asks, what is the role of schools in supporting or destroying black children? What does it mean when schools are places of surveillance rather than sanctuary? 2. Parenting under pressure. Much of the emotional weight of Pipeline falls on NYA, a mother caught between protecting her son and working within a system that criminalizes youth like him. Her internal conflict is devastating. She teaches students like her son by day, and raises her son by night, yet she feels helpless in both roles. Her monologues reflect a recurring question: how do I save them? The them is both personal, Omari, and collective, her students. Morisseau portrays NYA not as a flawless hero, but as a complex, anxious, and deeply human figure trying to do the right thing with limited tools. Her guilt and fear are emblematic of many black mothers who must raise children while navigating systems that devalue their lives. 3. Black masculinity and emotional trauma. Omari's character gives voice to the pain of being misunderstood, hyper-policed, and emotionally neglected. His outburst in the classroom is not just about native son. It is about the pressure of constantly having to explain and justify his existence. His relationship with his father Xavier highlights another theme: black male generational trauma and alienation. Xavier believes that success means suppressing emotion and adhering to white standards of behavior. Omari rejects this, asserting his right to feel, to rage, to grieve. Through Omari, Morisseau critiques the stoicism and silence often demanded of black boys, arguing that vulnerability must be allowed in order to heal. 4. Literary symbolism. Native Son as a mirror. The novel Native Son by Richard Wright, which Omari and his classmates discuss, becomes a meta-text within the play. Bigger Thomas, the protagonist of Native Son, is a young black man whose life is shaped by systemic racism and ends in tragedy. Omari sees himself in Bigger, but resists being reduced to a criminal stereotype. When his white teacher presses him to understand Bigger, Omari experiences the conversation as a projection of racist assumptions, not an honest inquiry. This moment underscores how education can re-traumatize when not rooted in empathy and cultural awareness. The literature meant to educate Omari ends up alienating and othering him. 5. Institutional failure and teacher disillusionment. Characters like Laurie and Dunn represent workers within broken institutions. Laurie's frustration with students turning violent is matched by her lack of support from administration. Dunn, the security guard, is compassionate but powerless. Through their experiences, Morisseau critiques institutional neglect, underfunding, and burnout in public education. Schools are not simply failing, they are designed without the resources or frameworks to succeed, especially in underserved communities. Yet Morisseau avoids villainizing individual teachers. Instead, she shows how even well-meaning staff become complicit when systems devalue black youth. 6. Class division within the black community. Pipeline also explores intra-racial class tensions, especially through the differing parenting philosophies of NYA and Xavier. NYA remains in the city, working in public education, while Xavier moves into a wealthier world and believes in escaping black struggle through achievement. Their disagreement reflects a wider debate within the black community. Should upward mobility mean assimilation, or should success be redefined altogether? Omari, caught in between, struggles to form a coherent identity. He is alienated in his mostly white private school, but also feels disconnected from his roots. 7. Poetic structure and lyrical monologues. Morisseau's language blends naturalistic dialogue with poetic monologues. These moments of heightened language offer insight into the internal emotional worlds of characters, particularly Nya. In her final monologue, she speaks directly to an unseen classroom, delivering a lament and plea that is both maternal and political. These lyrical passages elevate the play beyond realism and into ritual and reckoning, turning the stage into a space for communal catharsis. Dramatic structure and theatrical style. Morisseau employs non-linear scenes, flashbacks, and poetic interludes to create a fractured, emotionally charged narrative. The use of projections, surveillance images, poetic phrases, gives the audience a sense of being watched, mirroring how Black children are monitored in schools and society. Her use of minimal sets and tight scenes keeps the focus on language, performance, and emotion. Pipeline is intimate and intense, demanding both intellectual and emotional engagement. Contemporary relevance. 1. Black Lives Matter and education reform. Pipeline resonates powerfully in the context of Black Lives Matter, especially regarding the calls to dismantle the school-to-prison pipeline. The play dramatizes how disciplinary policies, implicit bias, and institutional racism function in educational settings to harm Black students. It also echoes real-life debates around police presence in schools, restorative justice versus zero tolerance, the impact of trauma on learning. Morisseau insists that reform must be holistic, not punitive, centered on love, understanding, and resources. 2. Mental health and Black youth. Omari's emotional turmoil also points to the neglected mental health needs of Black youth. He is not angry in the abstract. He is traumatized, grieving, and unsupported. The play urges educators, parents, and policymakers to see Black boys as whole human beings, capable of intellectual brilliance and emotional vulnerability. 3. Feminist perspective and Black motherhood. Nya is at the heart of the play, not only as a mother, but as a symbol of Black women's labor, love, and pain. Her story reflects the burden placed on Black women to protect their children from systems that they themselves are entangled in. Morisseau honors that struggle while also critiquing the expectation that Black mothers must bear the weight of an unjust world alone. Conclusion. Dominique Morisseau's Pipeline is a masterful, emotionally resonant play that tackles one of America's most pressing injustices: the criminalization of Black youth through its education system. Through the lens of one family's crisis, Morisseau dramatizes the structural violence, generational trauma, and moral complexity of raising a child in a society that fears and misunderstands him. What makes Pipeline especially powerful is its refusal to offer easy answers. It does not vilify, sentimentalize, or simplify. Instead, it opens space for dialogue, empathy, and reckoning. It reminds us that education is never neutral, and that justice begins with the ability to see, and truly care for, the children society would rather forget.